What up, everybody? Welcome back to Fro Publications YouTube channel. As always, me, Rich. On this channel, we talk about zines and DIY culture. Basically, if you're into print media, you might want to consider subscribing to the channel. And if you want to help your boy out, go ahead and like the video. Today, I want to talk about alternative Incite. I like this zine a lot. This zine is 11 by 17, folded in half. It is alternative Incite. Follow your creative impulse. And I want to read very briefly what this zine is about. And it states, Alternative Incite exists to encourage readers to follow their creative impulse and exercise their right to be bizarre, different, and or peculiar in the interest of personal satisfaction and the greater good. And that theme really is followed throughout a lot of the articles found here. The Jeepers Creepers and Jesus article that he does, where he kind of breaks down this discussion, this whole very elaborate discussion on the Matrix censorship and how Christianity is just jammed down our throat, and it doesn't allow any room to disagree or very let me just quote him. It says, but Jesus Christ is off the menu now too? How did this happen? How did a nation of rugged individualists, people who elected a president that mocks reporters with disabilities and brags about grabbing women by the genitalias, get so fragile? And it's true, like it's so strange how there is a mob mentality when it comes to certain things, but other things are excusable, right? So like the President of the United States, can talk about grabbing women by the vagina, completely fine. But in a movie, if you say Jesus Christ, unacceptable. And the argument is just so well done, and it kind of concludes going back to that mission statement of like, fuck them. That's why we can't just allow them to dictate what is or isn't allowable, right? Like we have to break through the taboos, even word taboos, right? Like break through them, question it. Why is that? You know what I mean? There's another article in here called Looking for a Way Off the Hamster Wheel by J. Matthew Smith. Same thing. It ties back into that mission statement where he's basically saying we all know that we're supposed to live our life to live. But like, do we really do that? Do we ever really go out the conventional box that we're put in, right? Like, he talks about, how you blink and then you're married. You blink again, now you have children. You blink again, now you have a job that you hate because you got to support your family, your wife and your children. And you want to buy a house and this and that. And like, you create this structure of what should be, and it boxes you in. And then you don't live the way you would want to live because you're too busy following the road that has already been set before you. And he talks about how the current culture, there is a resistance to that. And I absolutely agree that there is definitely a current mentality of like, fuck that. I would rather make less but be happy than make more and be miserable. And that seems to be the overarching tone. Even the idea of like, I would rather piece together my, economic stability, but be free and not tied down to shit, than be economically stable but be tied down to a bunch of shit I don't want to be tied down to, right? That's why minimalism is a big deal right now. That's why a lot of people are looking at the gig economy as a way of springboarding their self-sustaining artisan projects, right? I love that article by Matthew. It was great. And there's just so much greatness in this zine, man. Like, it's just so well put together. It actually surprises me that there's only really one writer, because besides the article by J. Matthew Smith, everything else is done by Joe. And like, it is just so beautifully formatted. It is well bound. Let me show some of this off. Some of the other things that I really enjoyed about this zine was that Joe does this thing where like he recaps things that he read and then the random thoughts and perceptions that were provoked by these things that he read. And one of my personal favorites was this discussion on philosophy. Let me read a quote from it. And so he's talking about an article called What Philosophy Does to Philosophers, Philosophy Now, February, March 2020, page 12. And he talks, basically he's talking about it, but then he also quotes the article. And one of the quotes that really struck me as well and provoked thoughts in my own mind was that their lives show that philosophy can be more than just theoretical speculation. And that they viewed philosophy as a practice more than a teaching. Or rather, their way of life was teaching. And it's tripped because like they're talking about different philosophers and what being a philosopher does to them as a person and their livelihood. I honestly think that a lot of zinesters are, you know, common day philosophers on different topics and different things and different ideas, and kind of like a microcosm of like trying to tap into something real, something deep, you know. And so for me, it was very interesting to hear how like that lifestyle, the creative lifestyle, and Joe kind of also elaborates on that. This creative lifestyle does take a toll on you as a person, as an individual. Another segment that I really liked about the zine was producers and consumers, which is basically, and let me read what it is. The following is the first in a series of interviews with people who are following their creative impulses and doing cool and interesting shit. As you'll see, their reason for doing so differs. Some are trying to break their way into the creative economy. Some are trying to snap people out of their autopilot stupor. And some are just trying to kill the boredom. Whatever the motivation, the interviews that appear here under the heading of producers and consumers will examine what it is that's provoking these creators towards their goals and the adventures they've had along the way. So like I said, like this is honestly one of the few zines that I can honestly say is for any zinester. Like this is something that's just so fun and interesting to read. The way Joe writes, I mean, at least for me at least, it does something. Like it gets me mad. It makes me want to go create. There is a sense of passion, and there's also a sense of obsession with words, right? Like when you're reading his thoughts being provoked by all of these articles, you have to wonder how much does he write and how much does he read? Because this is a 40-page zine, and like I said, there's only 3 pages that Matthew wrote, and then there's a few pictures, but predominantly it's text heavy. And most of that text is coming from one person. So this is an amazing, amazing feat, amazing zine, and a lot of it comes from Joe. And I can't implore the zine enough, man. If you guys get the chance, check the zine out. Alright guys, beyond that, that's all I got for you, man. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so, and go ahead and like the video. Until next time, light.
Fight the fascists.